Right, we are on our way to Jane's house. Jane has been following the natural way for about 18 months, and she has got a group of people together.
8.9 miles, take exit 77, on right, to Avenue Vista Hermosa.
Jane has got her friends together at another friend's house, and she's basically going to be running through what she's been doing and how she's been eating, and she's put out all these dishes to show people how to eat. And it's going to be a question and answer session, so you're going to see how somebody else follows the natural way and listen to the different questions and answers, and hopefully it'll help you. So that's where we're going, on our way. Oh shoot, I should have been in the other lane.
Recalculating.
Everybody's raving about the acai or acai berry, and people are selling you juice, and I don't know if you noticed that some of the juices they're selling you will cost you $50 a bottle. Have you seen this stuff on the market?
Is that the stuff, what's her name?
Okay, we're not mentioning names.
Looks like it comes in a wine bottle or something.
Looks like wine.
Wine, yeah.
Okay, firstly, that particular juice you're talking about has got sodium benzoate in it, which is a preservative that can cause fetal damage, asthma, urticaria, hyperactivity. There are a couple of other things. Sodium benzoate is not, together with sulfur dioxide, are two particularly dangerous preservatives. And I wouldn't consume it just based on that, which is bizarre because they're selling it as a health product. Secondly, that particular product is ridiculously expensive. There's no need to sell it for that price, but it's very much one of the multi-level marketing. How do you know when a multi-level marketing company has integrity? Number one, their products do not cost an arm and a leg. That's number one. Number two, they don't claim that it cures you of all known illness and disease, from autism to cancer to diabetes to... I mean, they make the most ridiculous claims, a lot of these people with these products. They don't promote actual healthy living. When a company, for me, doesn't promote a healthy lifestyle and they say you don't have to change anything, you just have to take this product and it's going to get rid of your cellulite and your blood pressure is going to come down and you're going to be rich, beautiful and sexy, then, just by using this thing. So
That's what people want to hear.
health, you've got to understand something. If you could buy your health, then wouldn't it make sense that the wealthiest people in the world would be the healthiest? That would make sense. Except that the wealthiest people in the world are people, for example, that live in the United States. Any westernized culture tends to be the wealthier people. And we find the most heart disease, the most cancer, the most diabetes, degenerative diseases which are preventable by a change in diet. As long as we continue to think that you can buy your health in a bottle or a pill or any particular, you can just buy it and you don't have to actually change your lifestyle. It's a little bit like buying an insurance policy which gives you the insurance that you're going to go to heaven when you die and you don't have to change the way you live and you can just be nasty to everybody and not serve God and just do whatever you want to. There's no such thing. You can't buy your health. In the same way as you can't buy your spiritual well-being. I know as much as the Catholic Church, and I'm not running the Catholic Church down, right, it's sold indulgences before Martin Luther came along. They used to actually be able to buy your forgiveness of your sins before you committed them. So you could say, I'm going to commit murder, let me pay the church for a big indulgence, and then I could commit the murder and it would be wiped clean. So it was a money-making scheme. So as we came out of the dark ages of the church, I think we're kind of starting to open our eyes when it comes to health and coming out of the dark ages, hopefully. But we tend to think that it's just this quick fix, that we can just take this berry or take that drink. I mean, people are selling water that's alkaline, so it can make your body more alkaline. And it's ridiculous because the minerals that are in the water are inorganic, which means they can't be used by the body. Your body can only use organic. That means it's got a carbon molecule attached to it. So the calcium in water or in fruit and vegetables should be of organic nature. That means a carbon molecule should be attached to it. The only way to get it to do that is through the act of photosynthesis. The only way to put organic minerals in your water is to put in things that are living, like algae. And once you put algae into the water, you're introducing a whole bunch of bacteria, and you've got a problem. You can't market the water. So we're all trying to find something that's going to, Mark calls it a silver bullet. We're trying to find a berry or a water or a pill or a powder or a potion or a lotion or something that'll just, if we won't have to make any commitment to getting healthy, we can just take the stuff and it'll totally revolutionize us, and it'll probably end up costing $300 or $400, and then another 6 months later you kind of, oh man, I got sucked into that one, and then somebody else comes out with something and then everybody's talking about it, and my grandfather got raised from the dead, and my grandmother couldn't walk and she's out of a wheelchair, and people are just going on and on and on and on. As far as the acai berry is, it comes from South America, if I'm not mistaken. The other one is the goji berry, which comes from kind of, pardon?
The Amazon?
The goji berry.
Yeah.
It may, I thought it came from like Northern Europe or Russia or somewhere. They've got these, it may also be South America. Whenever something is rare and comes from another country and you can't find it in large quantities, that gives you the opportunity to charge a lot for it. It's very expensive. It's got more antioxidants. This is what they tell us. It's got more antioxidants than any other known food. There's nothing else to beat this. That means that only wealthy people can be healthy. You're saying is, well, I don't have to take responsibility for my health. I'll just drink this juice and I can eat and drink and be merry and do whatever I want to my body, and it'll just cure me of whatever. And it doesn't do that.
Like cholesterol medication.
Like taking, and we do the same thing with medication. So we may be kind of more naturally inclined, so we're looking for the cure in a bottle or an instant cure. In the same sense, we'll do is if we're not well, we'll go and take medication and just hope that'll fix us overnight. And there is not one medication in the world you can take that doesn't have a side effect, a harmful side effect. Just something plain and simple like blood pressure medication. One of the side effects of that is diabetes. Another one is erectile dysfunction. Another one is depression. So then you start taking antidepressants and you start taking medication for the blood sugar problems and for the erectile dysfunction, and that causes some other problem. And then eventually you could end up like my mother-in-law, who was on 11 different kinds of medication and died prematurely at 69 because she had refused to take responsibility for what she put into her mouth. She wanted to eat anything. She wanted to drink as much coffee as she felt like, eat cookies and cakes whenever she felt like it. She just did not want to think about her food. And as long as you have that mentality, you're going to end up spending a huge amount of money. I'm always reminded of that woman in the book of Luke, who says that she spent all her money that she had, so that she had none left, on physicians trying to sort out this problem with her issue of blood. And then she reached out and touched the hem, Jesus' hem of his garment, and was instantly cured. It's kind of, we spend every single cent we have on every single cure, and then we turn to God. And usually by the time we turn to God, we've had our tonsils removed, our adenoids removed, our ovaries removed, our uterus removed, our spleen, our thyroid, we've had arteries taken out of our legs and bypassing other arteries that are blocked with cholesterol deposits, but we will not change our diet. And health comes from healthy living, and that's not an easy, it's not an easy quick fix. It's easy if you acknowledge that you're responsible for your health, and you just start slowly putting natural God-made foods into your body will start to respond in a natural God-made way. And without doubt, I have over the years dealt with thousands and thousands of people in various countries, from South Africa to the UK to here, and I see when people change their diet, that's what changed. If you want to have the acai berry, have it without preservatives, no added sugar. Spend your money on it, but remember that you could go and have blueberries and raspberries and strawberries, and you get the same amount of antioxidants. In fact, out of all the actual research that I've read, and when I say actual research, I found no documented research listing the nutrient value of the acai berry or the goji berry. Only from the companies that market it. If you could do an internet search, there is no independent research. I've gone through pages and pages and pages looking for independent research. All of it's coming from companies that market these products, telling you how wonderful it is, but they're not really listing the actual amounts of nutrients in there. The most nutritious foods, if you want to take something, dark green leafy vegetables, particularly the ones that are grown from sprouted grains like wheatgrass and barley grass. The most concentrated way to get wheatgrass and barley grass into your body is by extracting the juice, which you can do at home. This is the other thing, is if you're going to take something extra over and above a healthy diet, it should be something that even poor people can make and grow. And anybody can grow wheatgrass and barley grass. And they can eat it, and even in rural communities, there are very primitive forms of being able to actually juice things just through presses. That was originally how they took juice out of things and would feed babies, for example, that weren't able to be fed by their mothers. Their mother may have died in childbirth, for example, and there wasn't a wet nurse around, so they would give them juices from fruits and vegetables and leaves. The most nutritious of the juices that you could put into your body would be wheatgrass and barley grass juice. Barley grass juice is about twice as nutritious overall on average. I know that the calcium is twice as high, the protein is quite twice as high. The B vitamins are probably 3 or 4 times higher. The vitamin E in barley grass is about 5 times higher than what you'd find in wheatgrass juice. So that's the reason I drink barley grass juice. I don't have the time or inclination to stand actually making my own barley grass juice every morning, so I drink the dried variety. And the variety I drink is the Ames Barley Life, for the simple reason that it's the most nutritious of all the barley grasses out there. It's pure barley grass. It's not mixed with other things like alfalfa and broccoli, and because those nutrients aren't as high as barley grass. So when you mix it with alfalfa and kale and spinach and broccoli, you're actually diluting the nutritional effect, and it's a cheaper product. You get a lot of green blends in a lot of stores. So I take the Barley Life because I checked, and every time a new product comes out, I go online and I check the nutritional levels of it, and I've never found anything that is better than the Barley Life. Yep.
I just have a question. If you are juicing barley grass, how much would you take a day?
If you were juicing barley grass, I'd drink a full glass at least, and if you had a very stressful day, 2 glasses. If you were onto wheatgrass juice, you'd have to double that. Pardon?
8-ounce glasses?
8-ounce glasses, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Actually, you're saying 8-ounce glasses. I'm thinking about it. It's not that much. It's probably about a 4-ounce glass. I'm saying 8-ounce because I'm thinking of what I'm drinking when I'm drinking the powdered version. It's probably a 4-ounce glass. You'd have to drink 8 ounces of wheatgrass juice. People take wheatgrass shots and kind of think that's going to cure them of all kinds of things. It's not enough. You need at least a full glass, a full 8-ounce glass of wheatgrass juice to get what you're getting in a 4-ounce glass of barley grass juice. So it's, anybody can do it. There's no secret. That's the other thing is, whenever there's a supplement or a new water on the market, and they tell you that they're the only people in the world with that particular process, that it's a trade secret or a proprietary method, or and when you go online onto their websites, you can't actually find any nutritional information. This is what freaks me out with so many of the products that people say, hey, what about this, what about this? I get on their websites, there's no information, nutritional information, other than saying it's wonderful and it's high in antioxidants, but no specifics. I want to know exactly how many micrograms or milligrams in a particular product. How is it made? So when I go onto it, how do you make your supplement? Well, it's a proprietary process. Well, why? Because if it's something that's natural and to all humans, it should be accessible to anybody. If you go onto the company that makes the barley grass juice that I use, I checked it out. They show you the process. They show you the growing of the barley. They show you the cutting of the barley. They show you how they extract the juice and how they spray dry it. There's no secret. It's just a convenient way for me to take it, but you can make it at home. Okay, when you're dealing with any multivitamin or any supplement that is taken from a company that is in tablet form, if it's multivitamins, multiminerals, any of the combination of those, you're dealing with inorganic vitamins and minerals, which means that you've got calcium or vitamin C or vitamin E in this form. In that form, you can use 4 to 10%. To be able to use it efficiently, you've actually got to have a carbon molecule attached to the nutrient. And the only way to get carbon molecules attached to calcium and magnesium and potassium and vitamin C is through the process of photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, you need green leaves and you need sunlight. In other words, it happens outside when plants are growing. If you were to eat an orange, for example, the nutrients have been bonded with the carbon molecule and you're getting organic vitamin C. Same with the pineapple and strawberries and red peppers. You're getting an organic vitamin C which is fully usable, has no side effects. Why am I mentioning vitamin C? Because vitamin C in supplement form is the safest of all your supplements to take, and the side effects of taking it in supplement form are gout, arthritis, stomach ulcers, osteoporosis. What are we looking at? Gout, arthritis, stomach ulcers, osteoporosis, and kidney stones. Those are the common side effects. I have personally dealt with the worst case sort of a toxic side effect of vitamin C was a young girl of 22 who had been taking vitamin C her entire life. When I met her, she was very fit looking. She was an aerobics instructor. She had followed a very healthy diet her entire life, grown up with a very health conscious mother who had given them vitamin supplements from when they were little kids. And at the age of 22, she had severe osteoporosis. Now, somebody who exercises to the extent that she did and had good muscle tone shouldn't have had osteoporosis. She said, I cannot understand. So I said to her, do you take vitamin C? And she said, yes, I've taken it my entire life since I was a kid. And I could see firsthand where this had actually happened. I've actually read the research, but here was somebody firsthand. And if you look at the countries that consume the most dairy products, for example, they're the countries with the most osteoporosis. So we know that cow's milk doesn't prevent it. In fact, we know it contributes to it because there's too much phosphorus and sulfur for you to benefit from the calcium. And the calcium is very coarse. It's designed to build the bones of baby cows, not the bones of human beings. So it's a coarse calcium, it's difficult to use, and it's too high in phosphorus, which is an acid mineral that binds the calcium. So we can't really use the calcium that is. How did I get onto that? Calcium that is in cow's milk. We also, in westernized countries, follow a diet that is too high in protein. And when we follow a diet that's too high in protein, we upset the thyroid gland, and your thyroid gland controls calcium levels in the body. It's part of its function. So there's a couple of reasons we get osteoporosis from eating too much animal protein. One is it upsets the thyroid. Two is it's very acid forming. There's a lot of phosphorus and sulfur in it. And in that form, it actually binds the calcium so that any calcium that's with that meal, you tend to not be able to use. So I wouldn't personally use supplements. Your most efficient way to get extra nutrition into your body, because we do live in a polluted world. We do live in a world with extreme stress. We do live in a world that's kind of puts us in a position where we may be in too much of a rush to sit down and eat properly. So one of your most efficient ways to get extra nutrition into your body is get yourself a good juice extractor and drink green juice, yellow juice or orange juice, and red juice. That will be from fruits or vegetables. The most nutritious of the red ones is the beets. The most nutritious of the orange juices is carrot juice. And the most nutritious of the green juices is barley grass juice. You can make those and mix them all up every day if you want to. You can buy the dried variety. I know Jane uses it. I use it. The dried carrots, dried beets, and the dried barley. And I mix them all up together. And if you don't like the taste of it, they actually put the dried juice in a capsule for you. The difference with what they make is if you took the capsule and opened it up and stirred it in a glass of water, you would actually get carrot juice. Whereas a lot of the supplements, they'll say, oh, it's made from juice. And when you stir it up, you get nothing. You just get sludge at the bottom of the cup. Well, that's not juice. If it was juice that was dried, you'd be able to just put it in water and you would get juice.
What about pasteurized juices, like orange juice that's pasteurized?
I always prefer to have freshly extracted and not pasteurized, because when it's pasteurized, although it's depending on the process, but at most juices, I know the series fruit juices that I use, they use flash pasteurization at 30 seconds. So depending on the company and how efficient their systems are, and it shouldn't be for more than 30 seconds. There's mild destruction of things like vitamin C, for example, and some of the B vitamins with flash pasteurization. If it's longer than 30 seconds, there's more. But pasteurized juices are still better for us than any other juices if we're going to have, if we're going to drink diet soda, for example, which completely messes up your hormonal system, or we're going to have, the kids want to drink some kind of soda that's got sugar and preservatives and rubbish in it. A pasteurized juice is way better for you than that. So if you're thirsty, your very first thing that you drink should be water. The second thing, if you're going to drink something, should be freshly extracted fruit or vegetable juices. And if you can't have that, go for the dried variety. And if you can't have the dried variety, go for the pasteurized juices that are sugar-free, preservative-free, additive-free. Pasteurization, what it does is preserves it. It stops the bacteria. It kills any bacteria, so it stops any fermentation. So you can't.
Is it considered raw?
It's not when it's even flash pasteurizations at 30 seconds. What you've done is you've destroyed the ability for bacteria to actually live in that, which means it's not a living food anymore. It can't ferment once it's been pasteurized very easily, unless you put it in a warm place and left the lid off. And a lot of the series fruit juice that I use, if you leave the lid off and you keep it out of the refrigerator, it will go off in time.
So we shouldn't consider pasteurized orange juice, for instance, a nice big glass of it to be our raw food.
No, freshly extracted would be your raw food. You would have freshly. Trader Joe's makes unpasteurized orange juice, and it's the same price as the pasteurized stuff. So it's not anything extra, and it's delicious. Or squeeze your own. Yep.
In your book,
you said that citrus fruits are bad for people with rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And my rheumatoid arthritis number is 74. It's supposed to be under 14.
Yeah.
And there's no necessarily real evidence that I actually have rheumatoid arthritis. Sometimes I hurt, but then it goes away, whatever.
Yeah.
And but I have citrus trees, and that's why I'm really craving grapefruits and oranges, which is what I have. So is it okay to go ahead and eat them, and eventually my body will
Okay.
adjust to them?
With rheumatoid arthritis, fruit does not cause the problem, but it can aggravate it, which means it can make it worse if it's already existing. When I say fruit, particularly the acid fruits, the pineapples, the oranges, the strawberries, the fruit that kind of makes your tongue feel kind of a bit raw if you eat too much of it, you may find that fresh fruit of any kind doesn't have any effect on you. It's really only when you're drinking orange juice, when you're consuming large quantities of it. So I find most people with rheumatoid arthritis are fine if they're eating the pineapples and they're eating the oranges, but once they're juicing it, it may be a problem. And it's not that it's bad, it's just that when you've got rheumatoid arthritis, the endocrine system, it's an indication that your endocrine system's not working properly because you're not producing enough natural anti-inflammatories. Your body makes natural anti-inflammatory substances like cortisol, for example. Your adrenal glands make them. If you're not producing enough, inflammation is part of the healing process. So if there's wearing in the joints, you'll get inflammation, which will be part of healing. But if the body's not producing natural anti-inflammatories, your body then, you get inflammation. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. So what you need to be doing is taking a step back and saying, why have I got rheumatoid arthritis? Why am I not producing enough natural anti-inflammatories? Top of the list would be lack of essential fatty acids. So if you're not getting omega-3s and omega-6s in your diet on a regular basis, you could be prone to gout, arthritis, fibromyalgia. Okay? Essential fatty acids, your best sources are from plants. You do not get omega-3s in fish oil. You get derivatives. Now maybe you think I'm being anal about this, but at the end of the day, omega-3, which is the proper word for omega-3, the parent omega-3 is alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. That's what we need to make 5 different derivatives. Amongst those derivatives, number 3, the third derivative in that process would be EPA, or eicosapentaenoic acid, and the last one, the 5th one, would be DHA, or docosahexaenoic acid. So if we are getting essential fatty acids from plants, we're able to make all 5. When you eat fish oil, you only get EPA and DHA, that's all you get. You don't get vitamin E from fish, and you can't process omega-3 or the derivatives, which are these are like the family members, the child, the grandchild, the great-grandchild, the great-great-grandchild, and the great-great-great-grandchild. So you cannot make all those derivatives if you're not getting vitamin E, for example. You've also got to make sure that it's calcium, magnesium, potassium. Basically, all the nutrients you find in dark green leafy vegetables are needed for that conversion to take place. It's part of the reasons why I take omega-3 in a supplement form. When I say supplement, it is extracted. It's cold-pressed flax oil, sesame, sunflower, and olive oil, which gives me my perfect balance of omega-3s to 6s. So I take that in a capsule form together with the barley grass juice. You can put your oil into that. Udo's oil would be one. I use the Omega product because it's easier to travel with, and when flax oil messes on things, it tends to stain really badly. So I've kind of had a couple of situations like that happen with flax oil, so now I'm sticking to the capsules. So once you've taken that, you're able to make all the derivatives. In fish oil, you're not only getting EPA and DHA, only 2 derivatives, and your body can't work backwards. It can't make those derivatives backwards. Because they've been heated, they can't even make, it's glucuronic acid or stearidonic acid. I forget the order right now. Stearidonic, eicosapentaenoic, eicosahexaenoic, glucuronic, yeah. It's not able to make this particular acid, okay? So it cannot, because when you extract oil out of fish, it's not like you can in a rural community. This is where they first started pressing the oil out of olives or flax seeds. You could just press it and the oil would come out. It's not like that with fish. If you squash a fish, what comes out of the fish? Everything. The blood, the guts, the liver, the eyes, everything will come out. So you have to mash the entire fish. Then they heat it to very high temperatures, and they use chemical solvents to extract the oils. And what you're getting is a heated, processed EPA and DHA, which are family members. It would be like you're getting my grandson. I mean, it would be like, oh, we're going to a talk on nutrition, and you got my grandson standing up here saying to you, You must put healthy food into your bodies because they're God-made, and God-made foods made you go into a God-made body and you'll get God-made health. And that's what he'd be able to tell you. And then he'll tell you that hummus is good for you and avocados are good for you and you must eat your raw before you're cooked. And that would be the extent of the information he'd be able to tell you because he knows a little bit. Well, it's like that EPA and DHA only do a little bit. And in fact, they do a lot in the body. They're very involved. All your derivatives, your omega-3s and your omega-6s are very involved in a process whereby they actually provide the building blocks for the body to make prostaglandins. And prostaglandins make a lot of things in the body, particularly hormones. And of those hormones, many of them have an anti-inflammatory effect on the body. So you have to get essential fatty acids into your body, not fish oil.
Okay, I'm taking right now like a tablespoon of the barley grass in the morning in my juice,
Yeah.
and a tablespoon of those oils that you're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Is that enough, or do you just take it once a day? Or
With
what should I do?
rheumatoid arthritis, you should be taking 1 to 3 tablespoons of the oils until your inflammation goes completely. The barley grass, because barley grass, if it's properly made and it's as you sprout
It's
the
English.
grain, okay, great. As you sprout it, it's very high in what's called a vitamin E succinate. And vitamin E succinate is a precursor to vitamin E, which has a very profound effect on the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland controls the endocrine system, actually helps with anti-inflammatory. So I would increase the barley and the omega until you've got absolutely no pain, but I would also remove gluten from your diet. Gluten is in wheat, it's in rye, and it's in oats. So you really shouldn't have any of those grains or anything made from those grains, and that's what's great about what Jane did today, because so many people say to me, I can't follow a gluten-free diet, what could I eat? Well, you can see what you can eat. A whole bunch of things, and there's a whole bunch more that we didn't even show you. So you could have gluten-free, you need to have the right fats in your diet. You need to make sure, it's very important that you're getting enough natural light in your body without glasses or contact lenses over your eyes. Do you wear contact lenses?
No, I've been going. I heard you in November, and
Okay.
I've been trying to work this out. And so the hardest thing for me to do is to be outside
Yeah.
because I'm teaching like from 7, and I don't get home till 6, and
Okay.
it's very hard to get out and do it. I'm into school. There's
Yeah.
sun outside, but I'm still inside working. So
And during
that's
break
been hard.
times, could you be outside?
But I had a really hard last period, so I've been spending my breaks preparing for them basically every day.
Okay.
Now this summer I'll be more. And
Okay.
then, like I've been pulling my sleeves up and walking around outside without my glasses on.
Without your glasses, wear a hat, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get into the sun before you go to school or when you get back or during a lunch break, for example, if you have a lunch break, even if it's 20 minutes and you're able to stand supervising kids outside and you've got a hat on and you just, being a watchman outside, that if you need to be getting those breaks. Also with arthritis, you tend to find that any kind of stress makes your condition worse because stress is focused on your adrenal glands because your adrenal glands produce the anti-stress hormones, which is noradrenaline, adrenaline, also known as epinephrine and norepinephrine. Epinephrine, yeah. And so your adrenal glands also produce the natural anti-inflammatory. So when you're under stress, the adrenal glands can't produce as much of the anti-inflammatory. So when you're under stress and you're just kind of working from open to close, it's going to make it worse. So you actually need, to help you manage your stress, you need 20 minutes midday to just go and have a break, a rest, not focused on working. The other side of it is if you could sit on a veranda, if there was some place in the school where there was a veranda, or you could sit with the doors and the windows wide open, it allows natural light to come in, and that will help to a certain extent.
I do have doors in the back of my room. The
Yeah.
other thing is before I started eating your way, whenever I would eat anything with acid in it, that'd be
Yeah.
tomatoes,
Yeah.
vinegar, and of course the fruits, I would get these horrible sores all over my mouth and everywhere, and I'd get pimples and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And so I had those trees out in my yard for 17 years, I never could eat the fruit.
Okay.
But since I've been eating your way, I ate 2 grapefruits yesterday. I ate a grapefruit on my way here, and I'm not getting the sores.
Not getting the sores?
ulcers in my mouth or my tongue.
That's great.
So does that mean it's okay for the rheumatoid arthritis also if I'm not reacting in that way?
It should be. If you actually find that as you start to eat better, your body starts to function more efficiently. So you start making the essential fatty acids, the body starts to function, and then, before you know it,
You said I could eat all the fruit I wanted, and I'd like to eat grapefruit all day, but
the thing about you must listen to your body, and that's the most important thing. There may be something that your body really needs. Vitamin C and bioflavonoids, for example, which you find in the citrus fruit, are very important in the way the hormonal system actually works. So you need, for example, vitamin C to be able to use vitamin E efficiently, and vitamin E is needed for you to process essential fatty acids. So because you're getting the good fats, your body may be craving more vitamin C, and it may be the very right thing to do. Most important out of anything you do is listening to your body. When you're thirsty, drink water.
Actually come down then?
It should. Yep, it should come down in time. The thing is, you didn't get arthritis overnight. It's taken your whole lifetime to develop. The very first research that I ever read that was pretty conclusive, and it was from a recognized scientific source, was in the Lancet Journal, October of 1991. They actually published research that said the only diet that's been shown to help people with rheumatoid arthritis is a gluten-free vegetarian diet. The thing about animal protein, and this is an important thing to realize if you've got inflammatory conditions, is that animal protein contains a fatty acid called arachidonic acid, which used to be believed, they used to think that it was an essential fatty acid, and so they taught that you actually had to eat animal protein to get this fatty acid. But we now know that if you get omega-6 from avocados, nuts and seeds, you actually make arachidonic acid. The difference with arachidonic acid that you make in the body is your body only makes it as and when you need it. For example, arachidonic acid is needed to clot blood. So if you are bleeding, you need arachidonic acid. So essential fatty acids will make enough to clot the blood. You need it to push your blood pressure up. When do you need to put your blood pressure up? Maybe if it's very hot and your blood pressure's come down, or you're in a state of shock and it's come down, or it helps to regulate blood pressure. It's needed for to actually cause inflammation in the body, to start the process of inflammation, which is the process of healing. First part of healing any damage in the body is inflammation. It's part of the healing process. But if you've got too much arachidonic acid, the inflammation just carries on and on and on. And that's what tends to happen. Some people, because of the genetic predisposition, are prone to inflammation. So your body can manage it if it's getting the right fats. It will make as much arachidonic acid as it needs when it needs it. But when you start to eat animal protein, you're eating foods that have arachidonic already made in them. So you just push your levels way up. And that causes inflammation, blood clotting. And that's why some people, it's so dangerous for some people to eat animal protein if they're genetically predisposed towards things like heart disease, high blood pressure, and inflammatory conditions such as gout, arthritis, and fibromyalgia. And Mark was an interesting case because any of you know about the blood group diet that tells you if you're O-type, you've got to eat a high protein diet. So Mark comes from a background where, firstly, he's O-type, and secondly, comes from a family with a lot of high blood pressure. And his blood pressure at 19 was 160/110. And so when he followed a more vegetarian diet, ate more fruit and vegetables, the less animal protein he ate, the lower his blood pressure dropped. And now it's sitting at 115/75 on a bad day. You know, a really good day, it can drop down to 110/65 the one day it was down to that. Which means there's no pressure or strain on his heart. That's why blood pressure is so important. When your blood pressure's up, it's straining your heart a lot. So that's what's great about.
We're talking about vitamin D outside, sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Does sunblock negate the effects of sunlight?
Sunblock tends to negate the effects of vitamin D. Let me explain that what happens when you're in the sun, your body actually produces, it sweats, and with it comes a bit of oil. And that oil is very involved in converting cholesterol in your bloodstream into vitamin D. So going into the sun without sunblock on helps you to convert cholesterol into vitamin D, which lowers your cholesterol levels. The vitamin D that it forms is a kind of vitamin C, it's vitamin D2, I think it's called. It is known to have a powerful protective effect on the body against cancer. So in fact, I talk about it in this book, Take Control. I talk about sunlight in quite a bit of detail. And I've got some of the latest research in here on vitamin D, D2, and what is formed in sunlight. It has a very protective effect and protects you naturally against cancer. It will not do that if you don't have the right nutrients in your body. And the right nutrients are essential fatty acids, loads of beta carotene. How do you know you've got enough beta carotene? Hold your hands up like this. Let me see the palms of your hands. You've probably got enough. You've probably borderline. The pinker your hands, the lower the amount of beta carotene. Have a look at Mark's hands. How yellow they are. You can actually get a piece of equipment, and this friend of mine, Joan, She's from South Africa. She's actually here now. I spoke to her on the phone, and she is in Arizona right now. She was using this piece of equipment, and she said she wanted to scan me because she knew that we ate a lot of fruit and vegetables, and she wanted to check whether, whether we're really eating well enough. And so she came and she tested Mark and I. We were both over 75,000, which is a reading. She's never ever measured anybody that high. If you're over 50,000, you're protected against cancer. If you're under 50,000, they say there's a chance of you getting cancer. And she said most people she's tested are sit at about 20,000 if they're smokers and they don't eat very well. She said the one guy she tested, she couldn't even get a reading on him. There was no reading. He smoked, he consumed alcohol, he didn't eat any vegetables or fruit. He was diagnosed with cancer. She tested Stephen and he tested 69,000. She just about fell off a chair. She says she never tested a child over 30,000. And you can see, Stephen, when he was born, was very, very fair in skin. The kind of child you'd never let them go into the sun. But he's eaten, he was, from when he's a baby, he's had his barley life and his carrot juice and his, all of this stuff. And he loves fruit and vegetables. So he was so upset that he was 69,000 and we were 70 because he could see the graph and he started crying and he said, it's not fair. I want to be where you are on the graph. And so I said to him, well, I'll tell you what, have more barley, have some more carrots, and eat lots of mangoes today, and let's see if it goes up. Well, the next day we tested, and he was up into the 70,000s. So that's how quick it was to be able to get, and that was fascinating for me to see how quickly you can get your antioxidant levels, probably really fast with him because his antioxidants levels were really quite high. But it corresponds directly to the color of your hands. And very often when your hands and feet go yellow from eating a lot of fruit and vegetables, people say, oh, it's so bad, your hands are so yellow. You've got jaundice. And they're like, when you've got jaundice, the whites of your eyes go yellow. That's jaundice. This is just the amount of antioxidants in your body. So the yellower it is, the more protection you've got. And what happens is even when you're very fair-skinned and you go outside in natural light, your skin will actually go naturally dark. And that's been fascinating for us with Stephen because it's not easy to control him, always making sure he's got a cap on and a shirt. And sometimes he'll go with somebody to the beach and not put his hat on and not put his shirt on. And people just assume that he's got blockout on like their kids are, which then they'll all just run around. We've taught him, put your shirt on, put your hat on if you're in peak midday sun. So sometimes he's gone out and, he's got a bit burnt. Like his nose got a bit burnt the other day and the skin is peeling off his nose here because he didn't take his hat with him. He went swimming. But what was fascinating is that he never ever burns like on his shoulders. They never peel like mine did as a kid. And my skin's naturally much darker than his is. And there's this natural protection. And it's tying up with what research is saying. The more antioxidants, the more natural protection you've got, the more D2 you produce, the more you're protected against cancer. When you put blockout on, you can't make the D2, you can't produce the vitamin D efficiently, and vitamin D is needed so that you can use calcium so that you can have strong bones and teeth. Which, the interesting thing is that the countries that use the most blockout are the countries that have the most skin cancer, and it appears to be increasing. So it's not reducing it at all. The fascinating thing for me is that the people I've ever dealt with or spoken to that have got skin cancer, the vast majority of them have been people like from England who've never exposed their bodies to sun, and they're getting it in places like their back, not on their arms and legs, which may have been exposed to sun. One person I dealt with had huge carcinoma on their back, malignant melanoma at least, on their back, and they had never ever put their body in the sun. They were from a generation that didn't sunbathe. And so what I have seen is that people with skin cancer that are likely to get it are people that don't follow a healthy diet and lifestyle. And that's why there is no instant cure. Health comes from healthy living. It gets me back to where we started off. You've got to be following a healthy diet and lifestyle to be protected against things like skin cancer. The sun doesn't only make vitamin D so that you can have healthy bones and help to protect against cancer when you make enough D2. It also triggers a little gland behind the eyes called the pineal gland, and that little gland regulates melatonin and serotonin. Melatonin helps you sleep at night very well, and serotonin makes you feel happy. So if you're not getting enough natural light and you keep putting contact lenses over your eyes or prescription lenses or dark glasses, which is such a Californian thing. You go for a walk at like 8:30 in the morning, everybody's got their shades on and their cup of coffee, and I'm like, what's the point of coming outside if you're going to wear sunglasses? And then probably if we'd done a survey of all the people that were wearing sunglasses, how many of them suffered from depression and sleep disorders, they probably all would have said, yes, me. Because when you don't allow your little pineal gland to be triggered by the UV rays, you find you're tired all day and you don't sleep at night. And when that happens, you start to suffer from depression and what's called seasonal affective disorder. You can live in a country with this beautiful sunshine, and yet there's so many people that are on antidepressants, and they are diet and lifestyle related. There are different kinds of depression. One can be caused by lack of sunlight, one from lack of sleep, one from refined sugar and alcohol in the diet. So if you're wanting to help regulate your moods and help you sleep more efficiently, natural sunlight makes a huge difference, and you need at least 20 minutes a day. That's why we like to go for walking outside, and what we did was Jane is involved in the Outdoor Adventure Club. She teaches lessons outside. What do? You do walks, you do yoga, you do
Pilates also.
all of it outside. Torture. All of it's outside. All outdoors. And the thing, the woman that started that, Elaine, she's got a store in San Clemente on Camino Real, and they sell the most unbelievable hats called the Tilly hats. So we all went in and bought these hats. They've got like a vent so that your hair doesn't get sweaty on top. It's the most amazing hat. If you wash it and it loses its shape, or you don't like what's happened to it, they'll refund your money completely. And if you lose it, Tilly, Tilly, it is it EY or Y?
I think
Why?
Why? It's from made in Canada. If you lose the hat, they'll give you back half of your money, or give you half towards your next hat. And they tell a story. There's this little pouch inside the hat. You keep your wallet and your money and your credit card inside there. It's kind of like it's got a wide brim. It's wide brim, and it's kind of a khaki green or a khaki.
A sort of Australian cowboy look to it.
It's got an Australian look to it. Yeah, like a safari. It's on Camino Real. They've got great hiking shoes. You've got great walking clothes. I mean, it's a whole thing you can get into. The hats cost quite a bit, but I must tell you, out of all the hats I've ever worn in my life, I will never wear another hat. Except that hat. We go out, our hats are with us. We brought
My
Stephen
golf
with.
handicap improved with that.
He actually did. He says it actually did, because he would wear a cap, and this protects his neck. And I mean, Mark used to never be able to go in the sun. That was amazing for him. He could never. He'd go in the sun, he would just peel, just big strips. His skin would peel off. And he loves the sun. He grew up on the coast in South Africa, on the east coast.
So you guys don't use sunscreen?
No, not at all. And he goes in the sun now. I actually have to tell him to come out of the sun because it's peak midday sun. And it doesn't matter how long he stays in there, he just goes brown. He just never goes red, never goes brown. That's what antioxidants do. The yellower the palms of your hand, the browner you'll go in the sun.
I have a redhead though, a redhead daughter.
My mother is red-haired.
Oh really?
I have the same genes in me. My mother is red-haired. Stephen's skin when he was born was a very pale white skin, almost translucent, like my mother's skin. He's got the same blue eyes as my mother's, the same skin color, but no, he'd probably end up having red-haired children. So he's got that genetic predisposition, and that was fascinating for us. My mom...
But I had skin cancer.
Yep.
The basal.
I would stay out of peak midday sun. I would go into early morning and late afternoon. So you could go, up until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, depending on what time of the year it was, or after 3, 4 o'clock. In winter you'd go after 3, and in summer you'd go after 4 o'clock. And you could wear your hat. You just wear your hat. You protect your face. You just get it on your arms and your legs to make your vitamin D. And your eyes are uncovered so that your pineal gland can function efficiently.
So what about tea as a source of antioxidants, especially the new white tea that's becoming so popular?
I always want to laugh when people go on about tea. And I was actually involved many years ago. I was asked by a tea company to come and speak on the benefits of antioxidants at the launch of their organic range of products. And I'm like, I don't promote tea. They said, no, we just want you to speak on the power of antioxidants. And then they tied it in with the fact that their tea was so high in antioxidants. To get the benefit of the antioxidants they're talking about, you'd actually have to eat the tea leaves. You need to eat it, because what you're getting in tea is you're getting boiling water firstly, very little of the tea leaves. It's so diluted. You may as well smell a carrot as it runs past you. That's how much you're getting. It's ludicrous what they're saying. I mean, antioxidants are in our chocolate, in our coffee beans. There are antioxidants in every single plant food, particularly something that's sprouting. And tea leaves, when they pick it, it's the top leaves that they pick. They're the new leaves, so they're the most nutritious. They either ferment them to make black tea, or they pick them and it's green tea, and now you're getting white tea, and you're getting, and everybody's going on, this is higher and that's higher. At the end of the day, you're still getting leaves with caffeine in them, and caffeine upsets the hormonal system, going to do way more damage than any benefit from the antioxidants that kind of run past your nose as you. It's like the antioxidants in wine. You're drinking 99% water, or 98% water, and the rest of it's kind of alcohol and a bit of bioflavonoids, and then they tell us it's going to protect us from our heart. But they don't tell us is that if you are consuming less than 1 glass of wine a day, just under a little wine glass of wine, not these big ones, the tiny little ones, you're drinking about 4 liters of wine in a month, and that as a woman will give you a 30% greater chance of developing breast cancer. So the reason there's less heart disease in France is because they die of cancer before they can get heart disease. But I mean, it's just everybody's using, it's a magic word. Every plant is high in antioxidants. If you were to eat the leaves of that plant, you'd get a lot of antioxidants. Anything that's green out here. If you would eat marijuana, if it was legal, they would make supplements out of it. Already they've got people with cancer on marijuana and telling them that it's a natural painkiller, and they're better off smoking a joint than they are taking pain-killing medication. And I'm not going to make a judgment call on that. It's your choice. But at the end of the day, marijuana is incredibly high in antioxidants. That doesn't mean we should be eating marijuana leaves, because there are toxic properties in marijuana, and there are toxic properties in tobacco leaves, but they're very high levels of antioxidants. So the toxic properties in the leaves outweigh the benefit. And for me, that's with tea. The toxic properties in the tea with caffeine outweigh any benefit you're ever going to get from the tea.
Take a plug of tea and kind of do a skull thing with it. Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah, I mean, it's
so
just...
there's really no way to
there's
make
no...
the tea useful to us.
Tea is not useful. It's not beneficial. And a lot of people... I know in South Africa it's a smaller country, so the health industry is kind of quite tight. But people in South Africa in the health industry really don't like me, because I don't promote what they sell in the health shops. I promote... The farmers love me because I promote fruit and vegetables. They're like, any farmers launching they launched a huge big section of the biggest market in Africa, fresh produce market. I got to speak at that launch because they love me. I'm promoting fruit and vegetables. Those are the people that make the money. But the people that sell the supplements in the health stores don't like me much, because I don't promote the supplements. And they're like, she's just going to put us out of business, because you really shouldn't be spending more money. You shouldn't be spending vast quantities of money to get healthy. You really shouldn't. You should be eating better.
I've been trying to eat healthily. I've done pretty well, but now I have a 9-month-old son,
Yeah.
and since he was about 3 months old, he's had just really dry, almost like an eczema, all
Okay.
over his body except for his face.
Okay.
And so recently, about three weeks ago, I cut out wheat and I cut out nuts too, because the pediatrician said nuts could also, and I mean not peanuts, but all other.
So you are nursing.
I am nursing.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah. And it all cleared up. And then I introduced wheat just 3 days ago, so I don't know if that's long enough.
Flared up again.
No, it didn't.
Not yet.
So now I think
There are
it's
two
nuts.
things that contribute to eczema. I doubt that it's nuts.
Really? Okay, that's good.
And with wheat, the thing is, you can introduce it does nothing. But if you have it 3 days in a row, it flares up again. So that's your only way of doing it. The two things that contribute to eczema is dairy products and gluten.
Okay,
So wheat or gluten. So if you have dairy in the diet, the children can get a lot of mucus when you're nursing. I was nursing my youngest daughter, and she had such a blocked nose, she couldn't even nurse from me. Her nose was so blocked she couldn't suck, because as she sucked, she couldn't breathe. So she'd pull away, and it would be this huge, big commotion. So you take the dairy out. All I was having was a tiny piece of cheese with a whole wheat cracker, for lunch. It was like that amount. It was so minute. You've got to take the dairy out, and you've got to take the gluten out. And you may find that you reintroduce wheat in it. You have a little bit, and nothing seems to happen. But it's 3-4 days in a row, and it'll flare up again. In a row, or just a once off?
I've eaten wheat like 2 days in a row, but I started 3 days ago. And
Okay.
Nothing's come back yet. So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
why I was thinking it was the nuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an eczema form from nuts, but it's possible. Nuts can cause allergies. It's the protein that tends to cause it. And if you've got an allergic or an antibody response, it's because you've taken in a protein, usually with something that's been poisonous to the body or put the body in a state of panic to make it produce antibodies. Very often that's sugar. So you could have nuts and chocolate and your body will produce antibodies against the nuts and the chocolate, and then you end up with a nut allergy. Or you have gluten happens because we have gluten with so much sugar. I mean, we have cookies and cakes and muffins, which is all wheat and gluten with sugar. And we eat it, we produce antibodies against the protein, and then you end up with this kind of autoimmune response every time you eat it.
Did I hear you saying that if the nursing mother is taking dairy products or gluten, she will pass it on to the nursing babe?
Yes, what happens is the protein gets broken down, it gets into your bloodstream, and it gets into your milk. So it's getting the protein, it's getting the cow's milk protein, it's getting the gluten, and what it's really wanting is just pure mother's milk with lots of fruit and vegetables and a high alkaline forming diet, lots of green leafy things. You find if you're nursing and you have the barley grass, you have the most incredible milk. My daughter Melissa has had 3 babies in a row, and she's done experiments with the barley. When she's cut it out, her milk becomes quite pale and blue looking. And when she puts the barley grass back in, it gets thick and creamy, so much so that if she expresses it and lets it stand, it gets this thick layer of cream. It's like in a bottle that big, it gets this thick layer of cream. It's yellow. And she's found out she's now helping a lot of other women and a lot of her friends as well. She's seen what their milk's like before, gives them the barley, and it's like a cow meat eating lucerne, really. And so they get this really creamy milk. It's actually quite amazing. And for me, it's fascinating because, I know when I was nursing, my milk tended to be this pale blue kind of color. I wasn't taking the barley. And my kids were never overweight. They were kind of almost skinny. Whereas Melissa's kids are well covered. They're really well covered. When she's nursing them, she's got this thick, creamy milk, and we've seen it. It's quite amazing. And that is fascinating because sprouted green stuff helps the hormonal system work very efficiently. It's the hormonal system that produces the quality of the milk and the quantity. She says she has enough milk to feed 5 other babies.
Marianne,
Yep.
I have a question about constipation.
Okay.
I've been doing this for a while, and Jane just pointed out that I was taking the fiber too quickly with
the barley
grass.
Yeah.
So I started spacing that out. There's still not a lot of changes. So this week, I've tried to go off of gluten.
Go for some gluten.
And so how
Okay.
how long?
You need firstly, if there's constipation, it indicates that the hormonal system's not working properly. Don't be embarrassed. 50% of the people I talk to are constipated. They're just not prepared to talk about it. It's just that I started getting the emails and I figured out. And a lot of the statistics I've read and the amount of people using laxatives, for example. Constipation, just in case you think you're not constipated, hold up your forefinger. If your stools are not that thin, you're constipated. Even if you're going every day. If you're going every day and your stools are thicker than that, you're constipated. How do I know that? If you study the digestive tract, you'll see the very end part of it before you actually pass the stool is the cecum, which is it's a pocket of part of the large intestine. And food is held there until you pass it out. But when there's constipation, there's not enough fiber, and it's not just fiber. If you're not getting essential fatty acids, the endocrine system doesn't work properly. And if the endocrine system, including the thyroid gland, doesn't work properly, peristalsis, which is the process whereby the muscles in the digestive tract actually work to make, it's like these waves, these wave-like muscle contractions that actually give you the urge to go to the bathroom. So if you're not having those wave-like feelings where you're like, I need to go now, then it shows that the endocrine system's not working properly. It may not be related to fiber. So you've got the fiber in your diet, you've changed your diet, you're eating more, you've probably not got enough essential fatty acids. You may have the essential fatty acids. You may be taking the barley and the herbal fiber, and you're taking the omega, and you're eating the fruit and vegetables, and you're taking the gluten out. Why is it not being sorted out? It could be lack of fluid. There's not enough water in your diet. You increase your water, it's still not increased. Then the main cause there is that you've got a hormonal system that's really not functioning the way it should, and it's going to take time to correct itself. Because when peristalsis hasn't been working efficiently for many years, you may have been, like the one guy, I've met people who've been constipated their entire lives. They actually said they were constipated babies.
57 years.
Yeah. Their entire lives they've been taking things to try and make the earth move. And it takes time for the endocrine system to start functioning. It's like the pituitary gland's got to send the message to the thyroid. You've probably got a thyroid gland that's sluggish. You may not have a clear problem with it, but it's sluggish. And it's sluggish because it hasn't been getting enough fats. And part of the problem is constipation is more common in women than men, not because women's diets are weird, because women take all the fats out of their diet because they're worried about excess weight. We've got to have those essential fatty acids. You may find if you increase your, are you taking the omega? How many do you take a day?
3.
It's not enough. You should be taking 6 a day.
Okay, 2 different times.
You can take them all together or 2 different times. Depends. It's entirely up to you. You should be taking 6 capsules at least until everything in your hormonal system works properly, and then you can come down to 3. You got to go and feed your baby. All right. You want to grab some food to eat in the way?
So if there are no stools, you're doing really well.
If there are no stools at all, no, you've got to have stools. They're just got to be this thin.
Oh, really?
And you should be going between 1 to 3 times a day. A really healthy bowel function that's really healthy, you'll see it in small children very often, and animals as well. They go after every meal. Very often they'll go first thing in the morning when they wake up, then they go after lunch and after dinner. It's not always the case. It depends on the quantity you eat, but you'll see it's that thin. And if it's thicker than that, you're actually constipated. Your food should clear out of your body within 24 hours, no longer than that. If it's longer than that, you're damaging the cecum, and that's where you get what's called colorectal cancer, which is in the rectum, basically. It's the most common form of cancer today is colorectal cancer, because the food is sitting there too long. Those are the waste products. They've got to get out of the body. 24 hours is basically the body's limit, otherwise it starts to damage the cells and cause inflammation, and years and years and years of inflammation and stools that are bigger than this. You're probably standing in line. Now you're all going to have a look and say, oh my word, it's too big. Don't panic, okay? Getting the right fats, exercise. Exercise may have a very profound effect on the functioning of the bowels. You find once you start exercising, particularly walking, you should be going on those hikes. Do you do them with Jane?
Not the hikes with Jane. I'm having problems with my hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can walk, even if it's like with a stiff neck, it's getting outdoors and getting your heart rate consistently up for longer than 20 minutes. Regulates 18 hormones. And when you regulate 18 hormones, at least a third of those will have an effect on the bowels and get the thyroid gland functioning efficiently and get that peristalsis moving. So we're needing exercise, we're needing sunlight, we're needing the right fats, and we need a gluten-free diet, basically. If it after like 12 weeks of doing that consistently, there's still no improvement, you're going to have to get animal protein out of your diet, because there's no fiber in animal protein. And some people are very sensitive to it. I know with myself, I suffered from constipation my entire life, looking at the size of my stools, and I had difficulty. I was one of those kids, my mother would have to give me a book to sit in the bathroom and read to make things happen. And it put me into that habit that I go to the bathroom, I still want to read because it's so ingrained with me. We used to have this pile of books in the bathroom. Probably because we were all constipated. I just didn't know it. And so, but when I started eating less and less animal protein, I found my bowels worked way more efficiently. For me, gluten and animal protein just clog up the bowels. So I tend to stay away from them because of that, and because they tend to upset my more hormonal system. If I have gluten in my diet, I'm going through menopause right now. If I have gluten in my diet, I get hot flushes. If I have animal products right now going through the whole, I was never vegan. I've always had like a bit of butter or a bit of cheese or a bit of cream occasionally. But now going through menopause, I can't tolerate even organic butter. I'm getting hot flushes. So I'm like, oh no.